Hello and welcome to the RotoWire Fantasy Soccer Show. I'm Adam Zdroik, back for another showdown discussion of Real Madrid against Manchester City. This is the second leg taking place on May the 4th. And before we get there, just wanted to bring up a little bit of what happened yesterday. I think it was a classic Champions League slate where we had, well, I don't think anyone surpassed what 20 points in that matchup, and a lot of people lucked into a cash lineup that had a lot of success. So Jota, as I suggested yesterday's, Jota started over Luis Diaz, and he was cheaper than Diaz, so that allowed people to get both Capu and Coquelin into their lineups. It didn't end up winning tournaments, I don't believe. I'm not sure what exactly that. I mean that lineup still went pretty high, but from in the smaller cash single entry double ups, a lot of those, I'd say about 20% of the lineups had the combo of Coquelin, Capu, which Champions League, they kind of just lucked into it. But hey, that's kind of what happens when Jota's in there, and you don't want to go down in your fourth spot to someone like Alisson or Thiago. The other thing that stood out to me was just that you can win tournaments without captaining the top three guys, without captaining Salah, Mane, TAA. You can win tournaments by captaining other guys. You can win by captaining the Fabinhos, the Keitas, uh, even the Ryan Belangi strategy, which, as I look back on my lineups, I made the mistake of captaining Lo Celso over Boulaye Dia. That I still cashed out a little bit with that lineup, but obviously, just the underdog, cheap forward, put him in captain, and then put the favorite team all around that. And that lineup, I didn't actually see anyone. I'd have to do some digging to see if anyone actually used that lineup of captaining Budia and then a bunch of Liverpool players. But I assume that lineup had a bit of success. But just in terms of comparing that matchup to this matchup, we got Manchester City 1.83 implied goal total, Real Madrid at 1.51. I'm pretty sure I looked at that about an hour ago, and Real Madrid were at about 1.45. So it looks like the numbers are moving a little bit. Clean sheet odds for Manchester City are dropping, but they still are sitting around 46% in terms of win chance. And just the matchup in general, a little different. Manchester City going in 4-3 win in the first leg, where Liverpool, a little different situation where uh, Villarreal they had one shot in the first matchup. So I wanted to look at that prior game and try and figure out what exactly is going to happen in this game. I think it's kind of impossible to, as we saw in yesterday's game, it's kind of impossible to try and project what's going to happen between these teams in the second leg. But we can try and look to see what could possibly happen. First up, if you're looking here, we got the cheat sheet up, we got the lineup up, rotowire.com. If you aren't familiar, rotowire.com/soccer trial, free 10-day trial, no credit card required. You can get this cheat sheet and a bunch of other stuff available at Rotowire. Um, but yeah, so the big thing here is that instead of using the combo of John Stones and Fernandinho at right back, Joao Cancelo is back from his suspension. So that's the main difference for Manchester City. Kyle Walker has a 20% chance of starting. I doubt he starts. I think it's going to be Zinchenko again. So we got that in there. With Real Madrid, we have David Alaba is out. Nacho is actually going to get the start next to Militao. And between Champions League and La Liga this season, Alaba has only not started 4 matches for Real Madrid this season. They actually won all of those, but again, those 4 matches were not against Manchester City. He also subbed off at the break in the first leg, so he only went 45 minutes in that first leg. So Alaba is out, but the big thing with the midfield is that Casemiro is in. So last week, Real Madrid really struggled in the midfield, and that was one of the reasons why they kind of got, I mean, it's 4-3, but they kind of got dominated in the midfield. Tony Cruz was in more of a central midfield role that he's not really used to, but Casemiro is back. Their defensive midfielder, the guy that can match up, in terms of whatever you want to call it, defensive quality can match up with Rodri in the midfield. So now you got Kroos and Modric doing a little more of what they want to do, of what they're used to doing, unlike in that first leg where it just didn't really work out for them. And then on the other end of that, I think we're going to get Valverde. He played in the midfield last match. I think he's going to move up to the front three role, playing on the right wing on the opposite side of Vinicius. And I think we're going to see Rodrigo drop to the bench compared to that last matchup. But looking at last week, small single entry, double up. We had 60% De Bruyne captain. He's sitting around 90%. We had Mahrez sitting around 90%. Foden, 50%. Zinchenko, 65%. So it's probably going to be, I think it's actually easier to put together a cash lineup in this week because last week with those guys, we were kind of stuck towards the bottom of, viable options. We had Benzema, 20% cash games, Vinicius, 25%, just scrolling through the list. Cruz was at 62%. And now, so Cruz was 5,800 last week. Now he's 5,200 at home. I think he's going to be popular. That's just in terms of the cash games. I'll look at some GPP percentages later, but putting together a cash lineup, it looks kind of easy. So the first thing I wanted to bring up actually was that Riyad Mahrez did not take a corner last week. And if you're watching here, I got his game log pulled up. He has 2 corners taken. I guess 1 corner taken in his last 2 starts. We look at the set pieces. Foden took 3 corners last week. De Bruyne took 2. And I think that's pretty irrelevant here. You can get a lineup with both Foden and Riyad Mahrez. But, as you can see here, let's just do, the safest route. De Bruyne is the safest option in this game. He was 60% captain last week. Figure he's going to be pretty popular again. So let's just do De Bruyne, and we'll take the other set piece taker and Foden. And I didn't like Cruz last week, but now we got Real Madrid at home. It is a different situation, and he's going to be in a different position. Even then, he had 6 points last week. That was only on 2 corners. That's he's down at 5,200. So, what are you expecting from Cruz here? He's the same price. He's the same price as Zinchenko. I'll talk about that in a little bit, but Zinchenko price drop 400. Okay, that's fine. We'll take it. But we have who else is in here? Camavinga is in here. Mendy, that's another discussion. I saw Militao up here. I guess Militao's 3,200. I was looking at his captain price earlier. But so got De Bruyne, Foden, Cruz. We now have Cancelo to deal with. Do we want Cancelo in cash games? Let's do it. He's only 6,800. So there you go. So we got Cruz, and then you can go down to this lower range, and you have the Casemiros, you have the Rodriguez, you even have Militao. You have these guys who have pretty much every game 5-point floor from defensive stats, and I don't think it's as bad as it was yesterday to the punt options. As I say that, you got the Capu and Coquelin. Whatever. I don't need to talk about that anymore. But we could plug in Rodri right here, and this lineup with De Bruyne captain, you can have Benzema with the best goal odds on the slate plus 110. You can have Benzema in this cash lineup, or you can take a different route and go. You can put Mahrez instead of Benzema. You could have De Bruyne, Foden, Mahrez, Cruz, Cancelo, and then whoever you want for like 3,800 or 4,000 or whatever. So it's not that difficult to put together a cash lineup. As I said, as I was looking back at last week's cash lineup, so we're going to have Cruz will probably be more popular than the 62% he was at. And that was in a more defensive role. That was away from home. Now he's cheaper and he's home. You got to think Cruz may be pushing 70% here in cash games. So I mean, what last week? I maybe there might be more difference between who's going to use Mahrez and Foden. I mean, it depends if people are looking at recent games or if they're looking at the overall season stats. Because Mahrez, his overall season stats, he's more expensive than Foden because of what he's done in the past. But I do think it's interesting that Foden did take corners more than over Mahrez last week. So if you don't want to risk any of that, if you don't want to risk the pep roulette of corners for Man City, you can get all three of those guys, and it's not that difficult because we have Cancelo at 6,800. You also have Zinchenko at 5,200, and then you still got some cheaper guys in there. So you got a pretty wide range here in cash games. I think Bruyne. I don't want to put Foden. One of Foden or Mahrez. So you got De Bruyne, Foden, Cruz. You got basically four guys here that will all be over 60% in cash games, and then it's kind of deciding what you want everywhere else. Do you want like a Cancelo and Rodri? Do you want maybe a little more in the mid range? Do you want Modric, something like that? Do you want to go back to Ferland Mendy? So you got a pretty. This seems like a better, just a more intriguing fantasy slate compared to yesterday, just because we have just more options. So I think that's all I can say about cash games. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. I think De Bruyne is the safest captain play, just because you know what you're getting from him, and you don't have to worry with Foden and Mahrez if one of those guys is going to get corners and the other's not, kind of a thing. So you don't have to worry about that with those guys. You don't have to worry about that. Sorry, with De Bruyne, and then like as for captaining Cruz in cash games, it's not really required. And like you look back at Real Madrid's, I don't know, last couple months, they're just not taking a ton of corners. So what are you paying Cruz for? What do you? I mean, I guess you're going for Manchester City getting an early goal. So Real Madrid have what 5+ corners kind of thing. They're pushing the rest of the way. But I mean, you look back at Real Madrid, they really haven't had more than 5 corners in the last couple months. So I'm not sure Cruz it will be good cash option at captain, I'll say. So and he's not needed because you can spend down. Like I said, you can get a reasonable lineup with De Bruyne at captain, and you can even fit Benzema in there. So there you go. Tournaments. Let's look at some percentages here. Some small tournaments from last week. We have. Okay. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention Courtois. So I doubt Courtois will be popular after what happened last week. But again, is anyone going to be surprised if he makes 6 saves and allows 2 goals or something in the slate? It's not going to be surprising. It'll just be unfortunate because no one's going to be on him after what happened last week. Negative 5.6 points. So, but looking at tournaments, we had De Bruyne, 20% captain, sitting around 75%. And a lot of all these people, all these other players, you got Mahrez is up there. Mahrez and Benzema are about the same in terms of popularity at 55%. I assume Benzema is going to be a little more popular now, even though it's more expensive. And then pretty much everyone else sitting around 20%, like even Bernardo Silva was 27, Zinchenko 27, Vinicius 35. So you got, Cruz is still 40% in tournaments, which is surprising. Uh, yeah, I mean, that is surprising. But again, he's cheaper and at home for this game. So he'll probably be popular because people are looking at set pieces and they want those set pieces in there. So we got all that. Valverde, 18%. Yeah, guys, good luck with that. We got Carvajal, 10%. Ferland Mendy was less popular than Carvajal, and Valverde, of course, he was more expensive, but hey. So, all right. So, tournament captains, we got Valverde is not in the discussion for me. You got Benzema, you got Vinicius. If you want to use any of these three Real Madrid midfielders, I don't think it's the best idea, but I think it's worth a look. I mean, we just saw what happened in Liverpool. We just saw Fabinho. We just saw Keita. I guess you can say Mendy is in there. Courtois is in there. So you got that with Manchester City. You got pretty much five, maybe everyone but Rodri. You could probably consider here, even Cancelo, Zinchenko, Ederson. So you got a ton of options. And you don't really have the same situation as yesterday where you could captain a cheap Villarreal forward and be, sitting in a good spot. So not definitely not the same situation, but there's a lot of ways we can go. I figure Benzema will be popular. It's hard to go against what he did last week. I guess just looking at that prior game. So we got 4-3. And if you watch the game, it seemed like Manchester City should have had 10 goals. Uh, they were the better team. And then at the end, 4-3, Real Madrid got some goals. They benefited, I'd say, greatly from having an injured John Stones at right back. So John Stones went out. Benzema got that first goal, assist from Mendy on that left side, 33rd minute. 3 minutes later, John Stones off with injury. Fernandinho was in. He looked like he was 20 years old at times, but then he was burned for the second goal by Vinicius in the 55th minute. And then later on, you get the Benzema penalty. So those are the three goals from Real Madrid. I know they're at home now, but you just look at the matchup, you look at what happened, and it just seemed like Manchester City kind of had a ton of better chances. They looked like the better team. Of course, you have Casemiro in there, so that's going to change some things. But you also have Cancelo for Manchester City. You look at the expected goals, 2.70 for Manchester City, and then only 1.62 from Real Madrid. And usually for PKs, it's basically one expected goal. So if you take out the PK, it's 0.62 expected goals from Real Madrid. I think that's pretty relevant. You look at that, but again, Casemiro's in Real Madrid at home. We can't ignore playing at home. I said that yesterday for Villarreal. They went up 2-0. Obviously, they lost it. They couldn't, play like that all game, but playing at home means something. I know it is a renovated Bernabeu, but playing at home is definitely something. It has to be taken into account here, and I mean it's taken into account. Let me refresh the page here, see if the odds have changed at all. Nope, odds are still the same since I started 15 minutes ago. So, Captain, what do we want to do? We can take the safe route. I think the safe route, the popular routes will be Benzema and De Bruyne. And as I said, you can get pretty decent lineups with those guys captained. So let's try and do something with one of the cheaper players. So last week, I mean, we're looking here. So Zinchenko, I'm surprised here. I believe he went down in price. So he was 5,600 last week, and now he's 5,200. He was like, if you watch the match, he was up the left side a decent amount. He had the assist, 4 crosses, couple shots assisted, few interceptions. His floor was actually better than Ferland Mendy's, if I'm not mistaken here. Yes, I believe it was. His floor is better than Ferland Mendy. Ferland Mendy is still 1K cheaper, but you look at that. So yeah, so it's gonna be Carvajal. Okay. Do we want to go with that as cheap as Zinchenko? Let's see what else is down here. What else do we want to captain in this cheap range, and what exactly is that going to allow us to do? So let's just say it's Zinchenko because he's down here, and he got up the field plenty in that last game. But I will say with Cancelo in there, we talk about it always when those guys are in there. Cancelo seems to get up a little more forward, which would mean the guy on the other side kind of sits back a little more. So as I say that, maybe we don't want to captain Zinchenko. Okay. We'll figure this out. Don't worry about it. Okay, let's try Cancelo here. 10.2 at captain. A little more expensive, but I think we still have a decent amount to do here. So let's just say this is another up and down goal match. And so Real Madrid at 1.51. If they score a goal, you got to think that Benzema is involved. That's why he's the most expensive player now. And the only way you don't play Benzema, if you fade Benzema, is if you're also going Ederson, because then you're going for the clean sheet. You're going for the win clean sheet because Benzema is going to be involved. That's pretty clear. We saw in that first game, he had the 2 goals, obviously the PK, but he had 3 shots assisted. 3 shots overall. I mean, you look at his game log, he's just the guy in front, especially when you got Valverde up there, who's just not very involved in the attack. It's basically Vinicius and Benzema up front. So we got Benzema, we got De Bruyne, and I will say for Vinicius, outside of that goal, his floor was 4 or 5 points, not a ton there. So I think that needs to be taken into account if you're considering him for cash games. So we got 6,400 across 3 spots. I brought up Militao earlier, and I I don't I don't think he's the worst play. I guess that's what I'll come to say. Militao, like if you want a lineup with 5 awesome guys, basically, and punt on Militao at defender, I think that's fine. Uh, Like you look, he had a 7-point floor last match, but more importantly, if Real Madrid go down early, he's going to be one of those guys in the box getting shots. He has multiple shots in 4 of his last 5 starts. He's always getting defensive numbers. I mean, he's had close to 10-point floors at times this season in La Liga, just based off defensive stats and then some clean sheets in there. But like if you're getting 5 points from 3,200 Militao, that's not terrible. I do want to say that just because some people are just completely afraid to absolutely punt, but I think Militao is one of those punts that's not going to ruin your lineup. I mean, you can also say that about Rodri and Casamiro at 3,800. So that's why I think this is a little easier of a slate to play than yesterday. I mean, you also have like, why is Militao cheaper than Nacho? I don't know. So, I mean, just because I mentioned it here, I would say I would play Militao over Valverde. I think that is pretty clear for me. Let me pull up Valverde's numbers. It doesn't really matter where he plays, but if you look at his 3 starts as in the front 3, they're all recent, all in April. These are matches with goals that featured goals, and he took 2 shots, none of them on target, and had 2 chances created. All of his numbers coming from defensive stats. He's playing more of a midfield role, even though he's listed in the front 3, and playing more defensively. So I want to point that out. I'm telling everyone here, do not play Valverde. I said it last week. Some people still playing him. I'm sorry about that, but I know he's cheap, but Militao is right there, and he actually has a better floor. And he probably has more upside than Valverde if you just look at what Valverde has done this season. As I say that, are we going to be surprised when Valverde gets the first goal of the match? Probably not. I feel like I said similar things about Coquelin and Capulla yesterday, but here we are. So I guess good luck, and you can choose to take my advice or not. So there you go. We put Militao in this lineup, and for the most part, having Cancelo as captain doesn't really help that much. I haven't mentioned Gabriel Jesus yet, 9,000. So even with Militao in here, we can't do a ton of things, unfortunately. So I'm not sure. I don't think Cancelo at captain is the best route. Let's just go with that. I think we got to go cheaper. If you want more of the high end forwards, we got to go cheaper. And I guess we can just ignore what I said earlier about Zinchenko and hope he gets up the field as much as he did last week. So, I mean, there's also a chance Kyle Walker starts. So this may be a waste of time. But hey, if Zinchenko so in this range, we have Zinchenko at 7,800, Kurz at 7,800. I guess those are the guys here. If you want to go with Mendy again, go for it. Rodri Casamiro. Ooh, we could do that. I mean, we could do that. I mean, if getting 6 points from your captain is not the worst thing, and let's see what we can do here. What if we captain Rodri? We got Benzema. We got De Bruyne. We have. Do we want Jesus? Do we want Foden? Do we want Mahrez? Do we want Vinicius? Let's go. Let's go Jesus for the goal. We're left with 14.7 for our final 2 spots. Dang. Okay. We still got Bernardo Silva sitting around 7,000. Okay. Well, we got something interesting, I'll say. we got something interesting. We got Rodri at captain. We got Benzema, De Bruyne, Jesus, Bernardo Silva, Cancelo. How many people do you think are going to have that lineup? Not a lot. Rodri is going to be sub 5% captain, maybe 2%, something like that. So the point of spending down is that you can get all these guys. Otherwise, you can't get all these guys who can score. Like we saw Bernardo Silva, boomer bust guy, pure tournament option. We saw him last week. He got the goal, won some tournaments. Gabriel Jesus, pretty much in that same situation. We got all these guys. I mean, I think it's pretty clear that you want Benzema and De Bruyne in every lineup, unless you're going Ederson and you don't want Benzema. So I think for the most part, it's pretty clear to get those guys in your squad because they're the best guys on their teams. And if there are going to be goals, they will be involved. I already said Benzema's going to be involved. De Bruyne probably be involved in a couple goals if Man City score a couple goals. So I'm giving a couple tournament captains here. I don't want to do another goalkeeper captain. I ended yesterday's show going with the Alisson captain, and that one did not work. So let's not do that. But yeah, let's try and do something with Benzema captain and see what it actually looks like. So if you want Benzema, we want De Bruyne. Like we're left with 24,000 through the final four spots. So like I said, it's kind of difficult, but I mean, we can go down. We can go get Militao in there. We can get Casemiro in here, whatever you want to do. And then I guess you got a little bit here for Foden or whoever one of the forwards you want, Bernardo Silva. So, I mean, with the Benzema, with the Bruyne captain, you're looking at probably 2 punts unless you look somewhere else, unless you're looking unless you want Zinchenko, Cruz, and Cancelo. And I mean, this is getting kind of close to more of a cash lineup. But even then, you're still left with 6,900, which is kind of a dead zone in the slate. Like the next closest guy you can play is actually Ederson at 6,200. So this is just a lineup here with Benzema captain, De Bruyne, Zinchenko, Cruz, Cancelo. So it's like you get a brace from Benzema, you get him at captain, but what else do you want? What else is there in this bottom range? It's almost like don't even get Cancelo in this lineup. So we got Zinchenko, Cruz. I mean, don't even get Cruz, I guess. I mean, just go with Casemiro here, kind of a thing. I mean, heck, Ferland Mendy actually instead of Casemiro, and I mean, then you're kind of makes a little more sense here. But even then, I guess you're still in a spot where Cancelo is going to show up if you're getting like Bernardo Silva, if you're going higher, if you want Mahrez, Jesus, Foden. So there's a lot of ways to go. It's just a little harder. I know there's going to be plenty of captain Benzema, De Bruyne lineups. It's just not my preferred method. It's not my favorite thing because that's what everyone else is doing. They're going to be the most popular captains. They're going to be plus 20% captaincy. I mean, even last week, Mahrez was 15%. I wonder if Foden's going to take that 15% now, but Benzema's at home. Maybe the interesting thing will be to see if he's more popular than De Bruyne as a captain. We'll see what happens with that. But I'll probably, just if you wanted that spend down option, Rodri, Casemiro, Ferland Mendy, you got these spend down guys, and it's not the worst thing if these guys only get 6 to 8 points because you're also getting a ton of other guys. You're getting the more expensive guys in your team rather than punting on 2 positions, kind of a thing. You don't even have to punt on any position really if you spend down on like a Rodri or something at captain. So that's the benefit right there. And the hope is that Benzema doesn't get a hat trick and you're kind of left on the sidelines with the 20% captain or as a Benzema because they got a hat trick out of him, kind of thing. That's just what you hope for, and you hope doesn't happen. But hey, 30 minutes in. Thanks for watching this. But if you enjoyed all this stuff, we got more content coming this week. We have Friday, more DFS. Me, Ryan Belangi, and Jordan Cooper. We will be talking. It is now a 4-game slate taking place Saturday morning. They changed the schedule up. It used to be a 5-game. Unfortunately, it's a 4-game. We'll be live Friday, 12 p.m. Eastern, talking Saturday's 4-game slate. And tomorrow I'll be on with Chris Owen, talking more of a betting look, kits and wagers, just like a betting outlook towards the Premier League. We do that every week. So thanks for listening, and hopefully we can get some winners out here. Let's try the what do we want? We want the Rodri captain. We want the Bernardo Silva captain. We want the Casemiro captain. We want those cheap captains. Let's go with one of those. Hopefully, no one surpasses 30 points, and we'll get some winnings. We'll get some tickets. Good stuff. Thanks for listening. We'll see you tomorrow or Friday. We'll see you later in the week. This has been Real Madrid against Manchester City. Second leg. I'm Adam Zdroik at Roto Zdroik.